It was Friday, September 14th, 2007, and Kathy Snow was at the end of her bus route for the Elk Grove School District in Sacramento, California. Like every day, the video camera in the bus was aimed towards the students.
Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
So I was subbing on a different route, and I just dropped the student and started to head on back to go do my own route. And I was driving down the road. And I just seen a gentleman kind of rushing down the roadway a little bit. And I double looked again, slowing down, and I seen a baby in his hands covered in blood. And I stopped in the middle of the road, and I opened up my door.
Do you need help?
Could you open me?
Wait, what happened to him?
Just take him, okay?
No, I said call 911.
Just help him, just help him. I gotta go. Can you hold him for me, please?
Come on.
Hold him for me, please. I'm tripping. Please, just help him.
So he handed me baby, and he left me there with this little baby covered in blood.
Come on, baby. Come on, stay with me. Come on, baby. Come on, stay with me. It's okay. Dispatch.
Dispatch, 8-3 emergency, please. 8-3 emergency. Dispatch, I have an infant child that somebody brought to me covered in blood. I need an ambulance over here.
Dad just dropped his infant and skipped. He's about 6 months old, and he's covered in blood. He seems to be suffering from a major head trauma.
I didn't know if the baby had fallen, what had happened to the baby. I just knew that this head injuries are very serious, and you gotta stop the bleeding.
I need an ambulance over here. I'm on First Dawn Way.
Come on, baby.
And I found some paper towels, and that's when I started applying pressure on the baby's head just to stop the bleeding. And I was just praying, please don't die on me here.
What's coming? What's coming? You're almost here. Come on.
I was just talking to him, hoping that my voice would keep him alert enough until the paramedics got there.
As a bus driver, Kathy Snow was prepared for a lot of things, but nothing could have prepared her for the intense life and death drama that she was suddenly caught in the middle of. Out of the blue, a baby, bleeding and screaming in pain, is thrust into her arms. While Kathy remained calm and called for help, she had no idea of the full horror behind the infant's injuries. Roughly 20 minutes before Sean Jr. ended up in the arms of bus driver Kathy Snow fighting for his life, he was with his father, Sean Akitanya. Sean had just finished his shift at a Sacramento supermarket and was bringing his son to visit a close friend of his named Dallas.
Hey, yo, check this out.
2 other people were there to see Dallas as well. Cops say these punks were looking for an easy way into Dallas's home. And when they spotted Sean, they saw their chance.
Get us in that house, boss. Man, I don't want any trouble. It's too late for that.
We do believe that he was taken from the car at gunpoint. Sean would not have left the baby alone under any circumstances.
Hey, what the hell are you doing? Hey! No! What's up, Dallas? We're here for the money.
Once the 2 suspects were in the house, the suspects then took the occupants of that residence, including Sean, at gunpoint. Sean witnessed, we believe, that one of the occupants was getting beaten, pistol whipped, and he reacted to that.
I gotta get it. Somebody call the cops! Call the cops!
This baby could not talk, could not witness anything, could could do nothing to these two individuals that shot his father.
Help me! Hey! Hey! Yo! Hey! Hey!
Now, as paramedics rushed to the scene, Kathy was doing everything she could as precious seconds ticked away.
Coming. Oh, baby, Stu.
Finally, I hear the sirens come.
He's in the bus! I need help over here, please!
Thank God you're here.
What happened?
This baby needs some help seriously bad. He's got a big gash on his head.
Possible brain matter on him. Let's get him in the back and we'll worry about the airway.
Once I got there, it just seemed like it went really fast. The baby was gone, and I didn't know if the baby was gonna make it or not.
Kathy also wasn't aware until later that Sean Jr.'s father had been murdered just a few hundred yards away from where she'd done everything she could to save his son's life.
I'm thinking, oh my God, if the mother of this baby does show up, you know, it's gonna be even worse.
Sean Jr.'s mother, Monique, never made it to the crime scene. Instead, she rushed to the emergency room. Doctors did all they could, but Sean Jr. died. Yet because of Kathy's heroism, Monique was able to be with her son for the last few moments of his life.
Because of her, I was able to see him at the hospital. I was able to hold him and be there with him for his last moments. It means the world to me. She's just this amazing woman who had the strength to get through what she did.
As Monique tries to move on, she remembers the man who loved their son so dearly.
His son was his pride and joy, and you could tell the baby's first words were "Dada."
Monique also knows she'll never rest until she gets justice.
I don't know any human being that could be so cold-hearted to intentionally shoot a baby in the head. You just are not even human. He always smiled, and he's so innocent. And he's just a baby.
I know it's almost impossible, especially for me, to look at those pictures of that beautiful little baby boy and his loving parents and not be absolutely sickened by this senseless tragedy. Who could do such a horrible thing? Kill a 7-month-old baby boy in cold blood? Well, it happened right in front of this house, right here. And as you just saw, a man named Dallas rushed Sean Jr. to bus driver Kathy Snow. Cops have spoken to Dallas, and he has claimed all along to have no idea who the shooters are. So as of now, all cops have to go on are descriptions of these two baby killers. Suspect 1 is a Hispanic man in his 20s, about 5'9", who wore an Oakland A's baseball cap. Suspect 2 is a black male, roughly 6'2", with a shaved head. Now, once again, let me commend bus driver Kathy Snow for being so brave and doing all the right things during a very desperate emergency. Not too long ago, Kathy met Sean Jr.'s mom, Monique, for the very first time, and we were fortunate enough to be there.
Everything.
He's a gorgeous little baby.
Thank you so much for that. You're just an amazing woman. So sorry.
Coming up.
I love Vegas. Vegas is all about fun.
A bride-to-be and her friends hit Vegas for a blowout bachelorette party. But the good times end with a bang. Now, cops need your help to find a shooter on the Vegas Strip.
Bride-to-be heads to Vegas for one last fling with her best girlfriends. And for reasons no one could see coming, even in that town, it was a party that no one will ever forget.
I love Vegas. Vegas is all about fun. It's where you go to let loose and just everybody's there to have a good time.
A bachelorette party on the Vegas Strip was a surprise for Brittany O'Dale, especially because she never figured she'd even be getting married.
I was never really that girl. I kind of thought I would always be the last one to get married. But when I met Russ, it was, apparent that we were moving in that direction.
When Brittany decided to marry the love of her life, she turned to her best friend to help her plan a dream wedding.
I don't think it was ever a question that Georgia was going to be a great maid of honor.
Being the planner, it's a little bit nerve-wracking. You have to kind of make sure you enjoy it, but I was very excited. It's a great moment for your best friend.
She's my soulmate. She's my girl soulmate.
Brittany and Georgia envisioned a sunset wedding on a beautiful California beach.
Perfect. Yeah, it was absolutely perfect.
But the first stop in August 2007, a month before the wedding, Vegas, for the 3-day bachelorette party.
God, it was a blast. We took a lot of really crazy fun photos, stayed up to all hours of the night.
On the final night of the party, the women decided to hit the glitz and glamour of the Strip.
We finally ended up at Margaritaville, and it was just an amazing evening. The band was playing to her. She was singing in front of the band.
And that was kind of the final destination for the evening. We closed the bar down.
As the women walked away from the bar, they headed up the Strip. That's when they heard the sounds that would change their lives forever.
We heard, I think it was 4 or 5 loud pops.
People were frantic and pushing. It was chaos.
Hundreds of surveillance cameras along the Strip captured the terrifying scene from every angle. Someone was spraying the crowd with bullets. Brittany and her friends were caught in the middle.
I turn around, and Brittany is the only person on the Strip, and she's kind of crouched down, holding her leg.
Feeling pain and looking down at my leg and seeing just an obscene amount of blood. The movies don't capture it. I thought I was gonna die.
Investigator John Mahalik and his team were quickly on the case. He started by scouring the hundreds of hours of surveillance tape from that night, trying to determine who would unload a gun on the crowded Strip during peak tourist season.
There goes the crowd running. This is where Brittany and everyone is standing over here.
This video shows the commotion as the shooter fires 5 times, hitting 4 innocent people. Here, one victim limps his way toward help after being struck by a bullet. But Brittany, the furthest away, was the most seriously injured.
The bullet had eyes. It could have struck 100 different people, and for it to make its way through the crowd and strike Brittany is pretty amazing.
As a gang expert, it didn't take investigator Mahalik long to figure out who the shooter was and what went down. He says the crime was the mark of Las Vegas's notorious hybrid gangs.
They start their own gang, they make their own rules, they answer to no one. It's all about making money and at everyone's expense.
Investigator Mahalik discovered that a feud fueled the gunshots and panic on the Strip. It was a brawl between 2 rival gangs known as Squad and Wood. Although you can't see the shooter in this video, investigator Mahalik found plenty of other images of the man he believes was behind the gun. 23-year-old Robert Jackson, a baby-faced member of the Squad gang with a penchant for violence. He's a convicted felon with a fetish for guns. Cops say surveillance cameras caught Jackson tossing his shirt in one trash can, then his weapon in another, before fleeing through a casino.
He'll come running right up to this front door. That's him. He enters the elevator. A security guard goes in behind him. He asks if he's a member, asks for a room key to show that he belongs. He doesn't have one, and he's subsequently kicked out.
While Jackson vanished inside this parking garage, Brittany fought for her life at a local hospital.
When I was rolled in, my surgeon had said to me, "Ma'am, we're gonna do our best to save your leg." Didn't go, wow, I'm gonna make it, until the next morning after I came out of surgery. And they put a titanium rod down the length of my tibia. For the most part, it was gonna be a wheelchair. Learning to walk again.
Still, Brittany was determined to keep the date with her groom, and neither a bullet nor a sandy aisle would stop her.
Her dad said, you know, why don't I carry you down the aisle?
So on a beautiful September day, Brittany fulfilled her wedding dreams with the help of her father.
I cried like a little baby. It was very emotional. It ended up being very symbolic of how much I had needed them the past few months to physically carry me as well as emotionally through what was a really hard time.
Despite her injury, Brittany, seen here in her wedding dress, managed to dance the night away, either swaying on her one good leg or rocking in her wheelchair. Since the shooting, Brittany has worked her way through a painful rehab and now leads an active life. But her personal life was never the same. Her marriage was another victim of the shooting.
Everything that was difficult that shouldn't have been difficult, everything that should have been fun that was a chore, it all goes back to that. It all goes back to him. And it all goes back to, how can you do that to somebody? How can you do that to someone?
Now, believe it or not, when he's not spraying bullets all over the street, old friends say Jackson likes to hang out at the library and read. Now, he's got family in Louisiana, Buffalo, and Baltimore, and he could be hiding in any of those locations, or he still might be hanging out in Las Vegas. So if you've seen Robert Jackson, be careful. He's armed and obviously dangerous. Call us tonight at 1-800-CRIME-TV.
Next.
I thought I must be dreaming, and then I felt the metal against my head.
A sadistic rapist preys on women in their own homes. Tonight, you can end his 19 years of terror.
Your most prolific serial sexual offenders are going to be fantasy motivated. The problem with that is that a fantasy is always perfect, and reality is never perfect. They are doing it because it didn't live up to the fantasy. And so they say to themselves, next time I'll get it right. I'll pick a better victim, I'll control her differently. Whatever the parts of it that he identifies that didn't work for him, he's going to fix the next time.
A twisted serial rapist in Northern California has been working on perfecting his bizarro fantasies for some 15 years now. He's called the NorCal Rapist, and tonight we're hot on his trail as one of California's top profilers, along with several of his victims, take us deep inside this creep's warped and rancid mind.
He likes to operate within his comfort zone, which is the comfortable, familiar areas that he frequents. He's an average person who behaves in a socially appropriate way when he's out in the public. When he identifies a potential victim, he would watch because he does enjoy the watching. He's going to say, where does she live? Does she live alone? Does she have a boyfriend, a husband? And at what point during her activities am I going to be able to acquire access to her? I think there's a high likelihood this individual was peeping and prowling as a juvenile. He definitely did not just start this as an adult. You know, there was an evolution.
And cops say that evolution began 17 years ago with his first known attack.
Availability and vulnerability are really the most important criteria for any offender.
Don't make a sound, I have a gun. I thought I must be dreaming, and then I felt the metal against my head. I'm thinking, maybe he's just here to rob me. I'm gonna get out of this, you know, take anything you want, I don't care what you do. He took me upstairs, placed me face down on the bed, and he left me there. I never got a shot of his face the whole evening. I could hear him going through all of my stuff downstairs. He was rummaging around my house for what seemed like a really long time.
Relax. It's not going to be as bad as you think.
And I started shaking, very, very uncontrollably shaking. And I knew at that point that I wasn't getting out of this unscathed. He raped me the first time, and then he tied me back up. He was very careful not to get my hair in the duct tape.
He enjoys the touching afterwards, the holding, the cuddling.
I'm trying not to hurt you.
This offender expresses a concern for their welfare. It is consensual in his mind, and the activities that he chooses to engage in that feed that fantasy.
When choosing a treatment for
they were moved on.
And he brought in the radio and turned on songs. And I'm thinking to myself, he actually thinks that this is like a romantic interlude.
He knows their names, where they work. So in his mind, I believe that builds his relationship with these victims.
He made it really crystal clear that he would come back and hurt me pretty badly if I ever told anyone.
Don't call the police. You don't know what I look like, but I know what you look like.
Handed me the knife, and he said, let 3 songs go on the radio. Don't move until then. Don't call anybody. Don't get up. Don't even move. And by the way, you won't actually know if I've actually left the house.
Oh, yeah. You might want to start locking your doors from now on. Someone might come in and try to hurt you.
He said that lovely parting shot as he left.
While the NorCal rapist never contacted Nicole again, other victims were not as fortunate. Police say this sicko even called one victim at her job several weeks after the attack.
I'm sorry about what happened. I know you're a good person. I have to know this. Did you enjoy me raping you?
In his case, I would say that most likely these items are souvenirs. I think that these are fond memories for him.
He just came right at me. That's when I grabbed the hold of the knife. And somehow I just kind of went back and stabbed him with it above his eyebrow. And he came and jumped on me again. I just totally lost energy and I couldn't breathe.
You shouldn't have cut me.
I felt like I was already dead. I just laid there and, I had just no emotion. It's just like, do whatever you have to do and, let me survive this.
This guy has stayed rather consistent over these years as far as what he likes to do and the manner in which he does it.
And cops say the NorCal rapist inflicted terror on women all over Northern California.
He was looking around at stuff, going through all my drawers. I was licking the tape on my lips and kind of spitting. I tried to get loose. And it was just slowly trying to work it off. I was able to take the ropes off my hands because I was using my mouth, my teeth. And I was sitting up, and he walked in.
Don't look at me!
And I grabbed the scissors that I remembered he put on the nightstand.
You better get out of here!
And he charged at me, and I stabbed him in his left forearm. And I started thinking he's gonna either mutilate me. I mean, he was angry. I could tell he was angry.
Please! I'm pregnant!
You're not pregnant.
I'm 3 months pregnant!
I had remembered about certain things that you can say, and one of them was, tell them that you're pregnant. And so I remembered that and lied and said I'm pregnant.
Please send the police. A man just broke into my house and tried to rape me.
Thanks to Rosalind's bravery and quick thinking, police finally had a sketch of what the NorCal rapist looked like. But they should have had a picture of him already. Police say in nearly every attack, the rapist stole the victim's ATM card, then used it. Now, most ATMs have cameras, but this guy was so lucky every ATM he went to either had a broken camera or the camera didn't catch his face, all except one. After raping 2 women in 1997, police say he wore a mask like this one at an ATM in Woodland, California. These are the disturbing pictures taken that night. Then, to be doubly sure he wouldn't be recognized, he spray painted over the camera lens. With that, the NorCal rapist hid in the dark for nearly a decade. But when we come back, we'll tell you about his sudden return, his latest attacks, and we'll give you all the clues you need to take this fiend down. By 2000, cops had linked a single unknown suspect, dubbed the NorCal rapist, to at least 8 rapes in Northern California. Then the attacks suddenly stopped. For nearly 6 years, there was silence.
He might have moved out of California for whatever reason. And certainly when you look at the period of time for this individual, he's probably had job changes, relationship changes. Sex offenders commit their crimes as their schedules permit.
Whatever the reason, his hibernation ended in October 2006. That's when he entered this suburban Sacramento neighborhood. Now, this is actual surveillance footage of the suspect's vehicle. Cops say it's a white 1997 Toyota 4Runner limited edition. And it was in the early morning hours, a little after midnight on Friday the 13th, when that camera right up there, part of a neighbor's security system, caught our predator on the prowl. He broke into his victim's home right down the street, and he was so sure of himself that he even parked his vehicle in her garage.
So I caught parking in my spot. I think maybe that's my roommate's friend moving some stuff. So I just parked my car and then I just walked to the garage. I saw her was laying down on the bed.
I can feel her right next to me. It was a relief knowing that she's still okay. Kathy's huge big belly.
You girls think you're too good for me.
He was raping her, and then he switched to me and then went back to her.
I was so scared.
He took pictures.
He likes the pictures. I would expect him to keep those pictures, definitely.
Now, don't tell the police or anyone else. You wouldn't want me to send these pictures to anyone, would you?
He's obviously been doing this for a while. I would imagine has looked at books, magazines, information on the internet regarding crime scene evidence.
He took us to the bathroom, started washing us. He was trying to wash away evidence.
I know where you both work. You work at the corner of Jefferson and Wilbur Street.
And he even knew the cross street, so he made him stalking us.
The NorCal rapist finally fled after spending more than 5 hours with those 2 women, playing out his sick fantasy.
It's highly likely that he may have committed an assault since then that we just don't know about. But certainly if he hasn't, I believe that he will in the future.
That's absolutely right. If we don't catch this guy, there's no doubt he's going to keep on raping women. Fortunately, we have some great clues that might help us grab the NorCal rapist. First, we have these sketches by eyewitnesses. In the earlier sketch, made over a decade ago, he's noticeably thinner. But now he's put on weight. According to his latest victims, he's got a beer belly. We also know he may have a scar on his right forearm and above his eye. Our next great clue, the surveillance video of his vehicle. It's described as a 1997 Toyota 4Runner limited edition that's white over silver, just like this one right here. Now, the vehicle was about 9 years old at the time of the attack. That means it probably wasn't a rental. It was either his, or it belonged to a friend, or perhaps it was stolen. However, police have never found any stolen vehicles from the area that match up to it. And here's another clue. We also know this creep always takes things from his victims, and he may have kept some of them. In his most recent attack, he took 2 digital cameras. One was a very rare limited edition model that was bought overseas. It's a Sony digital camera like this one, except that it's white and has the menu written in Japanese. If he still has it, someone may have seen it, or he may have sold it on eBay or Craigslist. So let's get justice for all of the women this sadistic rapist has hurt. Please log on to our website, amw.com, for a closer look at all the clues. Now, the really great news is that the cops have the NorCal rapist DNA. That means when we arrest him, we can match him up definitively with all of his attacks.
Coming up, he was her first true love, and he planned to be her last.
He said, "We're gonna die together."
She fought for survival. Now you can help her fight for justice.
Tonight, we've got an update on a heartbreaking story we told you about last month, about how the suspicious death of a 2-year-old girl led police in Mississippi to make a horrifying discovery.
Oh, my God.
Investigators found a filthy shed where 7 small children were kept like caged animals. Police zeroed in on the children's adoptive parents, Janet and Ramon Barreto. They were charged with the murder of one child and abusing the others. They both soon bonded out and fled. After our story aired, your tips poured into the hotline. Several of your calls placed the Barretos in Mexico, but we still need the tip that will lead police to them, and they could be anywhere tonight. So if you know anything about where Janet and Ramon Barreto are hiding, even if you've called us before, call our hotline right now at 1-800-CRIME-TV. We've got Spanish-speaking operators standing by. Now, there are some people who don't believe you need a lot of street smarts to live in a quiet little town. All those dangers and bad people you read about are far, far away. Well, John Lieberman met someone who found out the hard way that that's just not true.
It's beautiful over here. The lake makes us, I think. I wish I had peace like the lake does right now. It's not moving, it's just no waves, nothing going on. It's just peaceful.
Nestled on upstate New York's Finger Lakes, Geneva is home to 14,000 people. Mercedes McIntosh has lived this peaceful small-town life since she was a little girl, and much of her life was peaceful. Her mom and the church instilled in Mercedes her core values.
Everything we did was like surrounded by church. Wednesday night Bible study, Mondays, my mom would go to choir rehearsal, and then Sundays, of course, we got to be in church early, got Sunday school.
To this day, Mercedes and her mom work side by side, taking care of senior citizens at a local elder care center.
What is it about working here that you enjoy so much?
Just knowing that I'm taking care of somebody else's family member and they trust me with that. That's like the best feeling in the world.
Ironically, it was actually Mercedes who, until recently, was the one who needed to be cared for.
Yeah, this is where I'm right here, right on this bench.
It was 2006. Mercedes was a 16-year-old high school track star. One of her volunteer coaches, a 23-year-old guy known as Junior, quickly took a liking to her. Mercedes soon found out Junior's real name was Alfonso James Whitfield Jr.
And when you heard that he was a Whitfield,
it was like, oh, he is, kind of like a disappointment. Like, oh, he's a Whitfield.
To understand this reaction, you need to know a little background about the Whitfield family. No one is more familiar with them in town than the lone major crimes investigator for Geneva Police, Greg Benslowitz.
We've had numerous contacts with the Whitfield family and on a regular basis, at least over the 18 years I've been here.
give me a sense, Greg, of some of the crimes here in the Whitfield file.
We have criminal possession of dangerous drugs, criminal possession of weapons, robberies, resisting, assaults.
With Akeem Whitfield in prison for killing a child and Armeel Whitfield in for robbery and contempt, you can understand why people close to Mercedes would have concerns about her dating Alfonso Whitfield.
I would ask them, I was like, why does everybody think your family's so bad? Like, you guys aren't that bad. I just thought everybody else was lying to me because they didn't want me and him to be together.
Blinded by love, Mercedes was soon spending most of her time with Whitfield, her first real boyfriend.
He would say like, oh, I never met a woman like you before. You're beautiful. I love you.
Mercedes fell for the come-ons, and soon she was pregnant.
I got kicked out of my house, so the only person I really had to lean on was him.
Mercedes had the baby, but the closer she got to Whitfield, the more frustrated she became with his lack of help, emotionally and financially, in raising their son. Then she dropped another bombshell. I'm pregnant again. And he's like, oh, that's good. I said, yeah, good for who? You know, because it wasn't going to be good for me. It's another mouth to feed. I was already working hard as it was. I was rarely home. Mercedes' frustration boiled over on April 6, 2009, when she decided to make a positive change and break it off with Whitfield. He didn't take the news well.
He stood up, walks, and punches me right in my face. Right in my face. And he grabbed out one of my steak knives and started stabbing me in the kitchen. He said, we're gonna die together.
I can't breathe. Please come quick. I've been stabbed numerous times.
Okay, we've got somebody on the way there.
Please come quick. My baby son. My son, he's in the crib.
My son was sleeping. He was sound asleep. I didn't want him to wake up and see me like that.
Show me where he stabbed you.
These are like my black and up here. And I have one right there. Across here.
He stabbed you how many times, would you say?
22.
Whitfield calmly walked away from Mercedes' bleeding body, leaving the knife behind. Mercedes' unborn baby died 2 days after the stabbing.
It's so hard to get over losing a child, born or not. It's devastated. It killed me.
Amid heartbreak and with all of the odds stacked against her, it would have been easy for Mercedes to hibernate, to give up. But she did the exact opposite.
What made you determined to catch him?
Justice for me, my son, and my unborn child. Because a part of me feels like I'm still fighting, that like he took a swing and I'm down and the ref is counting for me to get up. I'm up, I just have to swing. That's it.
Not dissuaded in the least by the Whitfield family reputation, Mercedes created a website dedicated to catching Alfonso. She passed out homemade wanted posters and since the beginning has worked hand in hand with cops. Despite extensive searching, so far cops haven't been able to find Whitfield and arrest him for the attempted murder of Mercedes McIntosh.
We believe that he would have to get some help in order for him to stay under the radar, so to speak, for this long. He has a large family, and there's nothing to say that they're going to come forward and help us in any way.
When you look at the scars, what do you think about?
I think about so much that I went through. So much. I think about, I can't let these scars be in vain. I can't. I can't let these scars just hold me back. They're only scars. How they got there, yeah, it was bad, but how the scars end is what is the best part.
Mercedes, what this creep Whitfield did to you and your child is absolutely unforgivable. And tonight we want to help heal the biggest scar you have, the one ripped in your soul that can only get better after we get you some justice. So let the manhunt begin. Alfonso James Whitfield Jr. doesn't smoke and he doesn't drink. He comes off like a clean living guy. That's why Mercedes was fooled. He has a tattoo of his baby on his right chest, but instead of taking care of that baby the way he should have, he played video games, which is what he really loves. Whitfield has ties to Florida and New York. but we're looking for him everywhere. So if you've seen him, think about what he did to Mercedes and give us that tip tonight. Have the guts to make that call.
Tonight, the manhunt is on for convicted child molester Jaime Garcia, Christopher Meir, wanted for extortion, Miguel Fat Mike Martinez, wanted on federal conspiracy charges, and Robert Jackson, Arnold Gabidon, and Alfonso Whitfield, wanted for attempted murder.
Until next week, please stay safe,